Hello everyone, welcome to our channel Easy Explanation. In this video tutorial, we'll be learning about the concept of static data member and static function in C++. So, in a class, you can define two types of variables. One is instance variable and another is static variable in C++. One is instance variable and another is static variable. So instance variables are related to individual instances which are nothing but objects of class, whereas static variables are related to class. So static variables are related to class and they are independent of objects of that class. So you can say that static variables are class level variables. So static variables are class level variables, whereas instance variable are object related variables or variables that are related to object. In order to understand this concept, let us say we have a class something like this, class test, and let us say it has one instance variable something like this, int x. So if we create object of this class test t1 and another object test t2 and another object suppose t3, so we have created three objects of type test here. Now t1, t2 and t3, all these objects have their own copy of variable x, So this is the concept of instance variable. So if you need to access this variable x, so t1, like if you want to access the variable x that is related to t1, then what you have to do? You have to do something like t1 dot x. If you need to access the variable related to object t2, then you have to do something like t2 dot x. And if you need to access the variable x that is related to t3, then you have to do something like t3 dot x. So such variables is called as a instance variables, and instance variable is related to instance or the object of a class. So if you need to access the instance variable, you can use something like this. Now in the context of the static variables, all the objects share the same static variable. So let us say that we have defined a static variable something like static int k. Now all these objects will share the same copy of static variable. Now even k will be pointing to the same static variable, and t3 is also pointing to same static variable. Okay. Now since static variable are class related, static variables are class variables or variable related to particular class. In order to access the static variable, you need to do something like you have to provide the class name, and then you have to provide the scope resolution operator, then you can provide the variable name k. So in this way you can access the static variable. Accessing static variables. So in order to access the static variable, you do not need to instantiate the object of a class. So since they are independent of the objects, so they can be accessed directly by using the class name. So this is the concept related to the static variables in C++. So instance variable are related to instance of the class, each instances or the object will have the own copy of instance variable, whereas static variable are class level variables and they can be accessed without instantiating that particular class or without using the object, and they can be accessed directly by using the class name. So this is the example of static variable. Now let us understand this concept by writing a code. So static underscore demo dot cpp C++ program to understand the concept of static variable. So what we'll do is we'll write a program, the C++ program to count number of objects created. For that, has include IOStream using name space std, and let us say I have defined a class called as a test. Okay, now let us say we have defined an static variable, static int count, something like this. Now what we'll do is we need to initialize the static variable outside of the class, something like int test using scope resolution, right, count, and initialize with the value of 0. Static int count is equals to 0. Now let us define a public method. Let us say these all are the public variable. We define a public method called as public constructor, something like this. Now we know that the concept of constructor. So constructor is called automatically when an object is created. So we can use this concept in order to count the number of objects created. So each time a constructor is called, we will be incrementing the value of a static variable count over here. So each time the object is created, constructor is called, and when each time constructor is called, the count value of a count variable get incremented. So it will help you to count number of objects created. Now int main, now let us say we have created 3 objects like test t1, test t2, and test t3. See out number of objects created is 2. Now you can directly access this static variable independent of object, means you can access this static variable within the scope of a, since static variable are defined within the scope of a class, so it can directly be accessed by the class name by using a scope resolution operator and NL and return 0. So G++ static demo.cpp and /header out. You can see our program returns number of objects created is 3. So the meaning of this also is the static variables retain its value throughout program execution. So this is another point that you need to keep in mind regarding the concept called as a static. So each time the object is called, object is created, a constructor get called, and the value of count get incremented. So by doing so, what we are doing is, or what a static variable is doing is, it is retaining its value throughout the program execution, which can be helpful in many scenarios. Like if you need to keep track of a value or something throughout the program execution, in such case you can use the static variables. So static variables are class level variables, whereas instance variable are object level variables. Each objects have their own copy of instance variable, whereas static variables are shared by all the object, and all the object can have or have access to the same value of a static variables, and static variables are accessed by using this scope resolution operator. Now there is another concept called as a static function. Similar to a static variable and instance variable, we have a function also related to that. Similar to instance function or a member function of a class, we have something called as a static function. Since member functions are related to particular instances of the class, a static function are related to that particular class. So static functions are class level functions. Static functions can be called without instantiating objects. So static function are class level function, and you can call a static function without instantiating the object. So static functions are also independent of that particular, or static functions are independent of any objects. Now how to use static function? For that, let us understand this concept by writing a simple code: function underscore demo dot cpp C++ program to understand the concept of static function. Has include IOStream using std. Then let us say we have a class called as a test, and in this class test, let us define some public variables and public method. I'll be defining a instance variable, something like int x, and test x is equals to 10. I will define a public constructor, and let us say we have a static method. So for a static method, you have to use the keyword static. Then you can define a method in the normal form, means the way we define a normal function in C++. So static int sum int x comma int y. Sorry, x is already defined, so we'll be using a and b. So it should return a plus b. First define a main function, return 0. Cout sum is equals to. Now since we have defined a static function, a static function can be called independent of an object or without instantiating object of a class. They can be directly accessed by using class name. So by using a scope resolution operator, we can call a function called as a sum with value 10 and 20 and end l. And if I'll run this code, clear gcc function demo, we have got some error. We need to fix that. So we have got error something like use of undeclared identifier cout mean std cout. Okay, so cout IOStream is defined, has included IOStream using namespace std, class name is test. function demo.cpp. I think we had used g plus gcc to execute that code. That is the why we are getting error, something like that. So has include what I have written, IO string, and dot slash the dot out. You can see we have got the value of a sum as a 30. So in this way you can call a static function. Now let us say we have defined another static function, something like a static void display and cout x intel. And if I'll run this code, something like test is to display, then what will be the output? Let us understand that. So g++, you can see we have got error something like function demo error, invalid use of member x in static member function. So we are trying to access instance variable from within the static function. So this is not allowed, since static variables and static function are not related to any objects. They are class level variable. You cannot access instance variable from within the static function. So one thing that you need to remember is you cannot access instance variable from within a static function. So this is another thing that you need to keep in mind. So this is the concept related to static variables and static function in C++. So static variable and static functions are class level variables and functions. They are not shared by any objects. So if you need to access a static variable and static functions, then what you need to do, you need to access them by using the class name and scope resolution operator. So these are the concept. Let us say we have a variable something like static int y, and I have initialized this static variable something like int test is to y is equals to 100. Let us do that something like this. Now if I'll write here y, we've initialized a static variable y over here, and we are trying to display the value of a static variable from within the static function. Now if I'll do that, what will be the output of this code? So see, this is the code. A static function, we are trying to display a static variable from within the static function, initialization of a static variable, and now we are calling the static function display that should display the value of, we are expecting it to display the value of a static variable y over here. So clear g++, you can see we are not getting any error, and we're getting the value of y as a 100 over here. See, so static variables, so static functions can access the static variable. A static function cannot access the instance variable. So these are the concepts related to static variables and function in C++. If you have any question or queries regarding that, please mention in the comment section. Now let us discuss some of the multiple choice question related to static variable and function in C++. So a multiple choice question, static data members and static function. Which of the following statement best describes a static data member in C++? So the answer is B. It is a variable that returns its value across different instances of a class, means same value across different instances of the class. So this is the answer for the first question. What is the purpose of declaring a data member as a static in C++? So the options are: it allows data member to be initialized using user input. It ensures the data member is accessible from outside of the class. It enables data member to share among all instances of the class, and it prevents data member from being modified by any function. So answer is obviously C. The purpose of declaring data member as static is it enables data member to be shared among all instances of a class. So all instances of a class will have the same copy of a static variable and function. Which of the following statement is true about static member function in C++? So static member function can be accessed by using the class name without creating the object. So answer C is the correct answer for this. You can access the static member function without creating an object directly by using the class name that we had done programmatically also. So when should a member function be declared as a static in C++? When the function does not depend any particular object's state. So if you are thinking of declaring any variables or function that is independent of any instances or the state of the object, then you can go for static variables and static function. So what is the significance of defining static data member outside of the class declaration in C++? So the answer will be it provides a storage location for a static data member. So every time we have done is we have declared or initialized the static data member outside of the class, you can see. So these are some of the concepts related to static data members and function in C++. Please like if you have any question or queries regarding this concept, please mention in the comment section, and please like, share and subscribe our channel. Thank you so much everyone.